4 is observational and experimental studies. So now we're going to talk about specific types of studies. Yesterday we talked about different ways to sample. Okay, and today we're going to talk about two different kinds of studies that a researcher may conduct. Okay, an observational is one of them, and experimental is another. And we're going to talk about what each of those are. We're going to talk about the characteristics of each of them, and then inside some of them we have some other terms that we need to get on the same page about. So, first thing, an observational study is one where the researcher observes what's happening and tries to draw conclusions based on those observations. Yesterday when I was talking about that situation with the stop sign up here, if I wanted to go out there and sit and record what I witnessed, that would be an observational study. Okay, an experimental study is when the research manipulates a variable and tries to determine how that manipulation influences the other variables. And most of today we're going to spend talking about breaking down experiments. You guys have spent time in your science classes doing experiments in the past and testing theories and seeing what happens when you introduce a certain variable to a situation and how that affects the outcome. You have experience conducting experiments. Two types of variables. You probably know what they are.
Control.
Independent and dependent. Independent and dependent variables. We're getting to that though. We're getting to that. Okay, you have the independent variable. Sometimes described in the experiment itself as the explanatory variable. And it's the variable being studied.
Do we have to know that?
Okay, then the dependent variable is the outcome variable. The resultant variable. So when we're talking about the dependent variable, we're talking about what happened based on the experiment. The sort of after. So in an experimental study, there are two groups. Allison, what's one of them?
Control.
Control, very good. What's the other one? Do you know what the other one's called?
Yeah, but experimental group?
Yeah, it says we're going to use a different term.
I don't know.
It is not dependent, no.
It's the one
What?
that's manipulated.
It is the one that's manipulated, but it's not called the manipulated group. Nope. Alright, I'll just tell you. It's called the treatment group.
What the?
It is the one that is manipulated, yes. It is the one that receives the treatment. So whatever the manipulation is that you're going to have in your experiment, that is known as the treatment group. And of course the other one is the control group. Nothing happens to it, the placebo group. Right?
So the treatment's kind of like the controlled?
No, the control is just a group of people where nothing really happens to them. Or it doesn't have to be people. Most of the time with statistics it will be, but not always. But they're not receiving a treatment. And they're going to see what outcome might happen with that group. The treatment group is getting the treatment, and the idea is, does this treatment impact the things being studied?
So they would be manipulated.
So, here is a scenario I want you to go through. Go ahead and stick that in your notes. Take a picture of it, put it in your notes. And read through it, answer the questions. Go. Observational or experimental? Experimental, very good. Okay. Treatment group and control group.
It's the people was the new medicine.
Right. The treatment group is the half that were given the new medicine. Okay? So the treatment group is the half given the new medicine. Okay? If you just said medicine, you got to talk about the people. Okay? So that's going to be important. The control group was the group of people that didn't change. So those were the people that taken the old medicine. So they just kept doing what they'd been doing. So that's the control group. Okay? The independent variable. The medicine. The new medicine itself. The medicine that was given is the independent variable. Actually, the medicine period that was given. Okay? Dependent. We're talking about outcomes. Okay? The blood pressure results. Okay? Because that's what was being recorded, the blood pressure.
So the dependent variable is just what they're studying, like
It's the outcome.
what they want to see.
It's the outcome. No, not necessarily. Okay, so understand this. We haven't made any conclusions about anything. But we're saying based off of whatever treatment is given, the result of that, or for that matter, no treatment given. In the control group, there's not really a treatment given. But they're going to record the blood pressure results on that one either way. Okay, now from there, you're going to take that data and make conclusions from it. But that's not what we're doing in this. We're just going to identify those things so we're on the same page with all those different pieces within an experiment. Because that's, of course, where all the terminology comes from. The observation is the observation. You're looking at it, recording it, draw your conclusions. Here we're going to actually conduct the experiment, so you've got some variables at play. All right? Questions on any of that?